of Michigan versus Michael Shannon Doherty
began in 2019, if not earlier. At that time, I did not work for Mr. Doherty directly. I was a contractor. I remained with a reputable company and did not accept a full-time position until November 2021. After joining what was then known as Rebel as a full-time employee, I immediately became skeptical of Mr. Doherty's character. The man before the court today has been treated for what has been described as a psychotic break twice. I witnessed and heard things in nearly daily company meetings that any company with a functioning human resource department would have found unacceptable. Yet I stayed because I believed in the company's vision. After 6 months of employment, I was terminated by Mr. Doherty behind closed doors because I attended a public hearing. By that point, I have known him for 3 years. For 3 years, I have witnessed him at the height of his success, operating on borrowed money, abusing employees, and manipulating people and situations to his advantage. When those actions were exposed to others, I, and many others, became the targets of blame. As a result of this civil case, Mr. Doherty now has a multi-million-dollar judgment against him. Rather than appealing that judgment through normal legal channels, Mr. Doherty, while competent and not experiencing a psychotic break, embraced what he believed a vast conspiracy involving numerous prominent individuals. I remained at the center of his accusations, and as a result, a simple internet search places my name alongside people such as Cash Patel, and a federal lawsuit filled with allegations and falsehoods. In my view, those accusations were intended to damage my reputation. And I have the quote printed out. And no, I'm not gonna kill you, dumb fucks. If I was gonna do something like that, it would have happened last year. This is all in the court of law, and long term, I promise you, you will all get what you deserve. Please, and I mean please, do not believe that the man who is before you today is anyone different. The man who's caused all of this remains—
Buckle up, guys. Today we're going to witness a courtroom case where years of allegations, broken trust, and disturbing behavior finally collide before a judge. Right from the start, the first victim paints a picture of a businessman whose success allegedly hid manipulation, intimidation, and emotional abuse. As the testimony grows more intense, the accusations shift from workplace misconduct to chilling threats, setting the stage for a sentencing hearing filled with fear, controversy, and high emotional stakes.
Intact, and he's only sedated and about to be free.
I really appreciate you being here. This has been a long case.
As Your Honor knows, I have been a journalist in this community for 40 years. I have been the subject of threats and attempted assassinations by neo-Nazis, by crazed MSU fans because I've reported about alleged sexual assaults by basketball players. I have been stalked by the army of God. I have had multiple people angry at me. The story that I did about Mr. Doherty should have been just a business story. Instead, it turned into what has been a nightmare. This man is sick. He is a danger to this community. He will go on to harm people. There is no question in my mind. I did my job, and for that, I have had death threats that have resulted in, just months after starting a job with 6 News, Nexstar having to spend $1,400 to put an armed guard in the lobby to protect not only myself, but the 80+ employees of WLNS TV, who had to spend days worried about their safety because of this man's psychotic behavior. He is delusional and he's a danger. I want to be clear that I also had to inform my neighbors about his threats. They had to live in fear and concern because he could have taken out their anger on them if they'd intervened. His continued behavior and interruptions of my life, the life of others who are involved in this case, has impacted my health. I was diagnosed with lung cancer and went through some very serious surgeries and chemotherapy. And while I was recovering from a complication, that's when I learned about this obscene, fake federal lawsuit that he filed that accused me of horrendous things, including taking bribes to write a story. This man has impugned my integrity and my character and my abilities as a journalist that I have built over 40 years, a system that I need to have in order to do the work that I do. I need to have the trust of the people who talk to me. All they have to do is Google, and they're going to find this federal lawsuit that is filled with obscenities and lies. And I want to be very clear. He attacked my sexual orientation in that federal filing. He attacked my sexual orientation and my HIV status in the filings that are now sealed in this court. His behavior is repulsive. If he goes off his medications again, his psychosis and delusional paranoia and this giant conspiracy that he's created in his own mind in order to avoid accepting responsibility for scamming people for millions of dollars will result in somebody getting hurt, or worse, killed. I can sue him for defamation and libel and slander if that's what we need to do. But you have that power to order that. He knows he lied. He knows that's a delusional conspiracy. It needs to be addressed. He is not well. And you saw that in this courtroom at the last hearing. After you had already ruled that the felonies would stand, he turned to us and pretended to be apologetic. It was fake. It was disgusting. It was horrible. It was appalling. And it showed this man is delusional. He thought we would somehow be like, oh, okay, forget it. I'm not going to forget it. You have damaged my reputation and made allegations about my sexual orientation, about my HIV status, and about my professional status that cannot be made to go away because of his behavior. I asked this court to go well beyond the 5-year probation. 10 years, I understand, is what the prosecutor is asking for.
And you asked for 10 years. He's only what he's pled to, and I was not part of this plea deal, but hopefully all of you contributed to a conversation with the people.
I would be honest with you, Your Honor, we agreed to this because we wanted him to get the help that he needed, and it failed.
Yes, and there was very compassionate
The
involved.
second victim steps forward with decades of journalism behind him, explaining how what began as a routine business investigation spiraled into relentless harassment. He describes threats, security concerns, and deeply personal attacks that reach far beyond his career, affecting his health, family, and reputation. By the end of his statement, it's clear the emotional damage extends well beyond the courtroom, as he urges a judge to impose strict protections before someone else gets hurt.
So, Your Honor, I am a licensed attorney. I'm often in the courtroom. I don't know that I've ever given a victim impact statement before, so it's a little bit of uncharted territory. But I would like the court, as far as myself personally, included photos of my family, of my children, stating that I was a psychopath, and how could they have an individual like me as a parent. Photos of my deceased uncle, mocking his appearance, my appearance, emails about my wife, making references to her ethnicity, numerous photos, or numerous assertions that I was a white-collar criminal, that I was going to be spending the rest of my life in jail, downloading photos from my Facebook account, which I have since set to private. The office I was at the time, which had satellite offices as well, those mailings had the similar assertions about criminal activity. They included photos of his dead children. As you can imagine, as those different offices received that and opened the mail, that was shocking to them. They wondered what was going on. I also volunteer at a legal aid organization that provides services to homeless and poor people. He found that website and put in a request for help, also defaming me and saying I should be terminated with the organization. I had to speak to someone about what was going on. Thankfully, they realized not to take it seriously. He's also appeared at the law firm I was at in disguise. He was wearing sunglasses and a hat along with someone else under the pretense of serving me. After that incident, we installed additional security cameras and security doors. I moved to a new office, which then added extra security as well in light of the allegations in the federal lawsuit, an extra security door. I had to show pictures of him to my children. I have 4 children, and asked if they ever saw him, to call the police if they ever saw him at our door. They should let us know and not open it. I also received a phone call on Christmas Day, or a text message that I cannot prove was from him. I researched the number and it seems to have been from a burner phone, but it said, "I hope you get what you deserve this year." And that's a common phrase that he liked to put in his emails. And once again, I can't prove that, but once again, harassment. I share the same fears and concerns as the other 2 victims.
The courtroom hears from another victim. This time an attorney who details how the defendant's actions invaded nearly every aspect of his personal life, from distributing family photos to targeting his children and wife. The harassment forced increased security measures at work and at home. Even years later, anonymous messages continue to fuel fear, reinforcing why the victims remain convinced that lasting safeguards are absolutely necessary.
It's been a tremendous amount of time spent, and that's my job, and that's fine. What I want to point to, Your Honor, just the tremendous amount of resources that we as a society have put into Mr. Doherty to get us here today. Notably, Ingham County, myself, Mr. Duane, my office, I think every public official that I could think of in this county were sued in that federal lawsuit. It was our county attorneys that filed paperwork in the federal court and had to brief it out and submit everything and go argue, I presume argue the motions and have that case dismissed. And I know when I looked at the federal court filing, it appeared to me as after that occurred, Mr. Doherty went ahead and tried to appeal that decision. There were numerous people. I think the summons was issued for 300 plus people in that federal lawsuit. And as one of the victims, Mr. Noyes, related today, Cash Patel, members of the federal cabinet were sued who weren't even in office at the time that these alleged events happened. I know from dealing with this file that there was a point in time that Mr. Doherty drove himself to Washington, D.C. and tried to have a meeting with the FBI to discuss his criminal theories and paranoia of what was going on with all this. And I've said it before, and it's been thrown back in my face in some of the writings he sent to me, and I've said it, and I've said it all along. All he had to do was appeal what happened down the hallway with his business. That is the correct avenue when someone's aggrieved in court. What he has done and the wake of damage that he has caused for not only these 5 people, because they're the 5 who are brave enough to come here and face him, there are literally hundreds of others who wouldn't. And I want the court to be aware that that's what's gone on here. I agree now with the victims, and then I was foolish not to originally, that I don't know that we ever get to a point where Mr. Doherty is medication free and okay. I believe he is medicated and he is better. I don't think he is well. This is Michael and Sharon Doherty, parents. And it states, "Dear Judge Aquilina, when Michael is released into the community, he will be living with us in Charlevoix. We run a tour business and could use his help until he finds suitable employment. However, wearing a tether intimidates our customers, and it is difficult to hide when climbing in and out of a van to load coolers and luggage. Seriously, that's what we're worried about, is his parents' business and him wearing a tether at the expense of protecting those who have been harmed." And in fact, when it was going on, I had to call the state bar and said, "Look, this guy has sued me. He's accused me of doing all kinds of things. Do I have to not prosecute him?" And they said, "No, it's the exact opposite. We cannot allow defendants to choose who prosecutes them because we would never get to court. They would constantly sue or grieve. And that's just part of the stuff that we have to endure."
Mr. Doherty is going to address this, but in no way does he.
Attention now turns to the prosecution, which argues that the impact of this case reaches far beyond the people seated in the courtroom. The prosecutor outlines the enormous amount of public resources consumed by lawsuits investigations, and repeated legal filings while emphasizing that hundreds of others were affected. The central argument becomes clear. Despite treatment, the defendant's history leaves serious doubts about whether the community can safely trust that this behavior won't happen again.
Discount the problems that he's created for these people. And I might add me, I was named in that lawsuit. So I'm pretty well aware of all this that was going on. I'm going to go in reverse order and address the tether first. And I have to say this, and I've been in front of you how many times for how many years? I've never said this before, but these same people that write these letters and talking about how they need safety and they need a tether are the same people you glared at, because when Mr. Doherty was here a month and a half ago, they were in the back of the courtroom snickering at him. They're not afraid of him. Now, Mr. Doherty was on probation for 8 years. For 8 months. And didn't have a problem, and they came down here on April 1st, as we all know. And there were issues during that period of time, so he can be successful on probation. He was on medications that proved to be improper medications for him. He's on different medications now. And there was, and for obvious reasons, I could not call her as a witness before, but there was actually a family doctor that was saying you can cut back on your medications, and that's when he went into the re-break. Okay, that's malpractice. Now, since then, he's been back in, as you know, for a long time, and he's been working in the forensic center. These professionals, they're not saying stuff like, Michael's just running a scam on you all. He's going to spend his probation period getting ready to come back and really come after these people he doesn't like. That's not their conclusion, and they're the professionals that we turn him over to get this kind of an analysis from. In terms of violence, he made it clear even in his worst state, in these awful, and he acknowledges they're awful and upsetting papers that he filed and notices that he sent and emails and so forth. But even that long ago, when he was in the depths of it, he said, if there was going to be violence, I would have done it long ago. His nature is not to be violent. His nature is his mouth, which gets him in a lot of trouble and got him in a lot of trouble this time. Again, it's not my place to apologize, but he is going to apologize, and it is a sincere apology. I totally reject the idea that when he apologized, it was in any way phony, and for the reasons I've stated, because I don't trust people that laugh at you in court one day and then come in and write a letter saying you're scared of them. Thank you.
Well, for the record, I've never glared at the victims. I believe I was probably glaring at Defendant because he did turn around and try to play let's make a deal with the victims. That was a problem for me. That was not an apology. That was let's make a deal with the victims. They were not going to do that. He's re-offended and and they feel unsafe. And that was a horrible situation that, again, he caused. So, sir, what would you like me to know?
I just have to say, they were chuckling and amused.
I think they were chuckling and amused at the thought, when I don't want to speak for them, they certainly can speak up and the prosecutor can, but I think they were chuckling and amused that somehow he would play let's make a deal after all the damage that he caused.
There's no amusement involved in this, Your Honor, and I think those statements are inappropriate, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
The defense responds by challenging many of the fears raised throughout the hearing. Rather than portraying the defendant as dangerous, counsel argues that mental illness, improper medication, and poor medical guidance contributed to the conduct in question. The defense insists professionals have observed meaningful progress and rejects claims that previous apologies were insincere. Even so, the exchange quickly grows tense as the judge openly questions several of those arguments.
Sir, what would you like me to know?
How are you today, Your Honor?
Well, this is a sad case, sir.
Yeah, I know. I know it is. It was a half-second decision to file it in the courtroom in a federal lawsuit. If I could take that back every day, every hour, I would. The problem was I was trying to avoid probation. Probation to me is very scary. This is not my element at all. In fact, I wasn't even sure I was going to have the nerve to speak in front of you, Your Honor. It's very intimidating. And you do have my life in your hands right now. And
Well, let me just interject here, sir. If it's not probation, it's prison. You have prison time. Would you like to go to prison instead of probation?
no, man,
Okay.
I know I screwed up. And after reading through the amount of statements and stuff, maybe a little over the top, but ultimately there's something going on there. I caused pain and hurt in others, and I'm sorry for my part in that. They say hurt people, and I was very hurt with this whole thing going on. Having your company ripped away from you is like no other. So that's where, with Mr. Polderman there, Mr. Polderman, I apologize. I apologize for taking some screenshots of kids, family members. It's not okay. I was hurt. I was not thinking clearly. I thought this was kind of a game to try to bring me back to some sort of a man again. You know, that was the problem. I didn't feel like a man. And I was acting out and doing some stupid things. Maybe 5 years from now, I'm going to plan a whole nother attack or something. That's just crazy to me. There's no way. I mean, look at me. They've taken everything from me, even my wife. So do I need pity from you? No. But just some understanding with a fellow man. We go to battle sometimes. You guys watched me in that building. Like we went through battle after battle, and I had to fire people along the way.
Now the defendant finally speaks for himself. He acknowledges making terrible decisions and expresses regret, explaining that losing his business pushed him into an emotional spiral. He apologizes directly for involving victims' families and admits his actions were wrong, while continuing to insist he never intended physical violence. Throughout his statement, the courtroom weighs whether these words represent genuine accountability or another attempt to justify behavior that caused lasting harm.
So turn around and talk to me. I don't think they want to talk to you. No, you can't. You can talk to me. You can say that to me. I don't think they want you to talk to them and to make excuses. You're making excuses. You're the one that caused the pain and hurt. You're the one that caused yourself to lose things. And men don't hide behind computers and use pictures and other things to speak for themselves. They ask for help. They don't do what you did. So let's get off of that train and talk about something meaningful.
Okay, bottom line, I want to tell them that I'm done. I'm done. That was the point of that. Sorry if it wasn't perfect, but it's done. I have nothing left to say, to do. That final lawsuit was, you can't do anything else. So that, I'm literally done. When you get up there in the millions, and all of a sudden that gets taken away from you, when I was planning on retiring in like 3 years, that takes away the foundations of a man like no other. Although I understand how my conduct appeared alarming, I have no prior criminal history, and my behavior has always been nonviolent. After reading their letters, I realized some of my writings cause these people concern, and I am truly sorry, as that's not how I operate. Again, I am not a violent man, and it's important to note that I have not had any physical contact with the victims in 4 years. When I leave here, I would like to help my parents with their business, as they are approaching 80 years of age. Wearing a tether would severely limit my ability to help them by intimidating their customers. That tether, the mental trauma I had from it in just 60 days, it's like still being in jail, Your Honor, and I would really like to be.
As the defendant continues speaking, the judge quickly stops him from addressing the victims directly and reminds him that excuses cannot erase the consequences of his actions. Although he insists he has changed and wants to move on, much of his explanation continues to focus on his own losses rather than the suffering experienced by others. That shift only reinforces the growing tension moments before the court delivers its final decision.
Released.
When you talk about trauma from wearing a tether, they are tethered to your bad acts. We all have our name. They had their good names, and you soiled their good names publicly many, many, many times over to their co-workers, community, and to their family. One of the things that I'm going to order is that you go on the computer and you scrub it clean of every single thing you did to any of your victims. I don't know if anything can be really taken off the web, but it's your responsibility. You put it there, take it down, sir. You didn't intend to take any further after. How do they know that? I have lovely letters, dozen lovely letters from lots of people, your family, Virgin Arrow, lots of people, community leaders, saying, give them another chance. We're here to support them. The question I have for them is, where were they in support of you when you were sick, getting you help, stopping you, intervening? Nobody did that. You're really focused on the wrong things. What you're focused on is me. It's going to cause me trauma to be untethered. I need to do this. I need to do that. Well, these victims have a lot of healing to do. So you will also write a letter in regard to the federal lawsuit that says that you were having a mental breakdown, and that none of the allegations are true. I would also hope that you would ask the federal court to see if they would seal those records, as I have sealed records here. Because sadly, in this day and age of computers, even falsities that are put out there are believed by some and are never forgotten. A man isn't somebody with millions. A man doesn't have to be successful in business. A man needs to be kind, respectful, but so far all you have shown is weakness and depravity at the expense of others.
All of that shows what?
You have shown is weakness and depravity against others.
I have learned a lot.
And you'll continue to learn, sir. You are going to be on probation for 120 months. That can be extended if things are not going well. Until we can make sure things are going very, very, very well, you will have a tether with a GPS. And I know you don't like the tether, and I don't care. They don't like living with the trauma of what you did.
Just questioning, 120 months, is that 10 years?
Yes, sir.
Man,
I know.
I thought it was 5.
Well, apparently the statute allows, and what I've heard from these victims is they need a breather from you, sir. So, the other part of this is that there's also part of the statute, I'm going to be honest with everybody, that says that after half of probation is served, you can ask if nothing has happened for it to be decreased. I don't know whether I would grant that or not. Yep.
He was on successful probation for 8 months, maybe a little. I presume that credits towards his 10 years.
Nope.
That also wasn't probation, that was bond.
Okay. And ask.
I understand, yeah, big difference, as you know, counsel. Nice try, creative lawyering is always acceptable in this courtroom, but difference between bond conditions and probation, so. Sir, you understand what no contact means?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, any questions about anything I've ordered?
No.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's all for the record.
The judge delivers a powerful conclusion, making it clear that the victims, not the defendant, will carry the lasting effects of this case. She orders him to remove harmful online content, publicly acknowledge the false allegations, and comply with a decade of probation under GPS monitoring. Her message is unmistakable. True character is measured by respect for others, not wealth or success. With that, this remarkable courtroom hearing comes to an end. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another courtroom case. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.